Right now on ABC 10 News at 4 o'clock, the CDC gives the official green light for children ages 12 to 15 to get Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. How quickly teens and preteens could get a shot in the arm in San Diego. Chaos in La Jolla after a car smashes into a coffee shop. We speak with people who were inside when the crash happened, plus how it could have been worse. And local students make their voices heard on the County Board of Education.
ABC 10 News at 4 starts now.
Governor Gavin Newsom says the mask mandate in California will end June 15th. That's when most of the state's coronavirus restrictions are expected to be lifted. Thank you for joining us on this busy day. I'm Kimberly Hunt, and our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo is joining us now live with what all of this means for San Diego County. Laura.
Kimberly, well, county officials did address this during their county press conference, and Dr. Wilma Wooten said that this news does give the entire state hope, but that whether or not this will happen in San Diego County will depend on our local case rate come June 15th. Now, the governor's comments about no longer requiring masks came during a conversation with a reporter in Los Angeles. Newsom said after June 15th, face masks would no longer be required except for things like large-scale indoor convention events. County officials said the announcement was new to them, but that they've traditionally followed state guidance and that it's likely they would do so this time around as well if our case rate stays low. The county also said today our daily case count was under 100 for the first time in more than a year.
There's nothing magic about June 15th in terms of where all of our jurisdictions will be as it relates to the case rate, but to as much as the extent is possible, we will follow the state guidelines, but it will also have to depend on what our local case rates are.
Now, California has had a mask mandate in place since June 18th of last year. Now, Newsom also said by the June 15th date next month that we wouldn't be restricted to doing anything that we used to do in pre-pandemic days. Reporting live, Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
Thank you, Laura, for that update. And just hours ago, the CDC's health advisors gave the go-ahead for children 12 and up to get the Pfizer COVID vaccine. ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano explains what that means for teens and preteens in San Diego County.
More than 175,000 12 to 15-year-olds in San Diego County will now have the chance to get the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine.
But it is our expectation that tomorrow morning 12 to 15-year-olds will be able to receive the vaccine.
This comes just 2 days after the FDA expanded Pfizer's emergency use authorization, or EUA, of the COVID-19 vaccine to include 12 to 15-year-olds. This afternoon, CDC health advisors announced their recommendations on exactly how it should be administered to kids. And once the Western States Working Group completes its guidance, doses will be provided locally.
Minors will have to show some proof of eligibility, just a birth certificate, a school ID.
According to the CDC recommendations, the vaccine for 12-year-olds will be the exact same as adults, same dose given 3 weeks apart. And Pfizer's report says the clinical trials for this age group resulted in 100% efficacy and robust antibody responses. The county says it should begin administering doses as early as tomorrow via appointments and drop-in locations. Rady Children's Hospital has already opened up appointments as early as tomorrow on its website. UCSD Health also has open appointments for next week. This expansion comes as the county is expected to receive 200,000 vaccine doses next week.
We think 2/3 of those will be Pfizer, so again, we will be in a strong position to meet the needs of 12 to 15-year-olds as we move forward.
Rena Nakano, ABC 10 News.
Coming up on ABC 10 News, hear from a pediatrician from Rady Children's Hospital, his recommendations of the COVID shot in relation to other vaccines that children must get for school. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled a $14.5 billion plan for California public schools. Here's what that plan includes: a universal pre-K program, savings accounts for more than 3.5 million children, and smaller class sizes. This plan comes just 2 days after the governor announced California has a $75 million budget surplus. Keep track of the latest developments in the pandemic by heading to our website, 10news.com. Now to a Team 10 investigation. One of the opponents, hoping to oust Governor Newsom from office, may have violated city rules by bringing a Kodiak bear to his campaign event at Shelter Island yesterday. Team 10 has confirmed the Humane Society is investigating John Cox's use of the bear named Tag after a complaint was filed. Cox's campaign tells ABC 10 News, quote, "Every care was taken to ensure Tag's comfort and safety with the approval of several government agencies." Our Team 10 investigator is still working this story. We will have much more on the investigation coming up in 30 minutes.
Like a big explosion. I thought it was like an earthquake or a bomb.
Commotion inside an iconic La Jolla diner after an SUV crashes into the back of the building. ABC 10 News reporter John Horn explains why the accident was nearly a disaster.
Ileana Rodriguez was taking an order toward the front of Harry's coffee shop in La Jolla when she heard the crash.
And the smoke, the smell of gas, yeah, it was pretty scary.
The commotion came from behind the restaurant, where it has a parking lot. A Lexus SUV had slammed into that side of the building.
You can see the entrance to the restroom just right there. Fortunately, nobody was inside. Fire officials saying the driver, an elderly man, mistook the gas for the brake.
And opened up the door and full of airbag dust and whatnot. But they both seemed fine, sitting up and moving around, and no blood or anything. They all seemed fine.
Emergency responders took the man and woman in the car to the hospital as a precaution. A third person, a dishwasher, suffered bruising when the sink bumped into him, but he declined medical treatment. Harry's has been in this location on Girard Avenue since 1960, and its walls are lined with historic pictures of famous athletes from here to New York.
I think it's going to hit pretty hard on the community because everybody's here every day for lunch or breakfast.
Fire officials say Harry's will have to close for at least a day or two so it can be inspected. Rodriguez says things could be a lot worse. A woman was seen walking out of the restroom moments before the SUV crashed into it. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
The crash also caused a gas leak and a power outage at the adjacent businesses. SDG&E crews located that leak and restored power quickly to the businesses on either side of Harry's. We have some breaking news now from unincorporated Lakeside. We are watching this brush fire. It's ignited just off Interstate 8. These are live pictures right now from Sky 10. It's burning near Los Coches Road. Heartland Fire has rigs on the ground, and the 10 News breaking news tracker is also headed that way, and we will come back to this fire in just a bit. We are watching it. So let's go now live to meteorologist Angelica Campos. She's also watching the conditions in that area. We know we had some winds forecast for the county. What are they dealing with there in that area, Angelica?
Hi, Kim. It has been dry. It has been windy, especially for the eastern part of the county. And for this area in particular, we have some wind gusts, and they're averaging between 15, 20 miles per hour, which, again, it doesn't sound like a lot of wind when you talk about what fire season typically looks like. But for this region, the winds gusting between even over 10 miles per hour, and any fire situation could be imminent. It could certainly help to spread things out. The winds in this region are out of the southwest. The eastern part of the county is seeing winds out of the east. So as we go through the afternoon and evening, it's very typical in San Diego to get those westerly winds to gust at times, especially through the afternoon and evening, which of course is going to make it more challenging. But we know our firefighters always do a great job. And the reason why the winds are typically out of the west is because as temperatures heat up and the ground begins to heat during any given day, especially in the spring and summer, the air also rises. We know the hot air rises. And as that hot air rises, cooler air tries to replace it. So you get that cooler air that typically comes from the coastal communities. But at this time of the day, very typical to get gusty winds. And you can see at least the plume just kind of moving and shifting because of that wind, gusting again about 17, could gust up to 20 miles per hour. So we will be monitoring the winds. That certainly could be an issue through the afternoon, plus the fact that it's been so dry, and it also makes it more challenging. Kim?
And Angelica, as we're looking at these live pictures from Sky 10, and you see how close it is to the 8, by the way, those flames right there as the cars go by. But you're talking about those flumes. We saw our first county helo make a drop. That's the first we've seen on this fire since we've been watching. And they have to fly through that plume. What kind of atmosphere is that?
Well, above the fire, it's just going to be a stable atmosphere. We have a ridge of high pressure in this part of the county, so it shouldn't be a problem above it. At times you start getting those bubbles of hot air that start rising, so that sometimes makes it a little bit bumpy for the airplanes. But as far as the stability of the atmosphere, we are not looking at too many issues. I would say from just looking at putting out a fire in this situation, the winds would be a main factor, the dryness of the county and the atmosphere right now, and also the direction of that wind. But if it's coming out of the southwest, that means it's going to be moving north and east. Depending exactly where it is near the 8, that may be okay. But I would have to zoom in exactly to see the direction of the wind in contrast to the 8.
And it is very interesting to literally watch the helo make a perimeter. Fortunately, and we don't have official word from firefighters yet, but as we just look from Sky 10, it looks like this area around Los Coches, right where the fire started, is not heavily populated with houses. Of course, we see them on the outer perimeter, but not right where they're fighting those flames. That is very helpful, and you can see that they are then making that barrier for the fire. They are trying to stop it. A lot of white smoke, and now we see some black smoke as well. Angelica, will bring you back in as we talk about the different smoke. It looks like, at least on the outer perimeter, we are seeing white. That's some good news.
Yes, it looks like there's a lot of white instead of that darker smoke. But where we're zooming in right now, you can see the difference. There's definitely some vivid colors there, some vibrant flames right now, very, very close to the highway. I'd imagine that anyone driving by, it's probably very scary to see that. I mean, we've seen this in the past, Kim, when people are driving and they can see a fire right next to them. So I wonder if, depending on the movement of this, they may even just kind of slow things down to avoid any accidents, just as a distraction.
Absolutely. CHP definitely on the 8 there doing traffic control. They have the traffic stopped, slowly going in that area, so they've got that under control. Firefighters have both a ground attack and an air attack right here on this fire that we're watching. It's in Lakeside. If you're just joining us, it's in the unincorporated area of Lakeside. It ignited just off Interstate 8 just in the last half hour or so. We've been watching the air attack take off. Sky 10 was actually up before they got the helos going. It's burning near Los Coches Road. Heartland Fire is on it right now. We're seeing plenty of rigs on the ground as well as they try to protect the outer homes that are in that area. You can see some of those crews right there working that area. We're watching it. We have more news as soon as we return. We'll be right back. We are continuing to follow the breaking news right now. This is unincorporated Lakeside. We are watching a vegetation fire started in the last 30 minutes. It started along 8 eastbound. That is south of Los Coches Road right there where you're watching it. The county is there. Now they have 2 tankers up. They have 2 choppers also en route. Right now the county reporting it has grown to 4 acres. It's moving uphill. The winds are moving it uphill toward Valley View Truck Trail, and they're calling it a moderate rate of speed. They are managing to keep a lot of the structures protected there, but they do have those drops now underway. So we are watching this, and we will be checking back in.
This 10 News Pinpoint Weather Report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air. Nobody wows clients like we do.
Angelica Campos joining us once again, looking at our county weather in general, and now we have some fire weather to watch as well. Angelica.
Hi, Kim. Yes, let's start with that fire weather, and just like Kim said, it's moving uphill. So let me show you what the winds are doing right now. They're coming out of the southwest. So as we zoom into this region, you can see in the direction it's taking it. So it would be moving from El Cajon towards Lakeside. That's the movement of spread. But the winds typically at this time of the day do tend to become a bit gusty, and it's very typical to happen in any given afternoon. As the temperatures rise throughout the day, the air goes up and then cool air tries to replace it, so that cool air comes from the coastal areas, and that's where that wind is coming from. It is gusting in this region, averaging 15 up to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures are in the low 70s, but the only good news is that humidity is a little bit higher. It doesn't mean that the brush or anything that could get burned in its path is that moist. So that, of course, makes the spread a little bit quicker. When it's really dry, everything just spreads rapidly. And with those winds, that also creates a danger. As we look at the entire county, you can see how those winds are also gusting in areas like Big Black Mountain. And then over towards the East County, the winds are out of the east in Harrison Park and also in the deserts. We've had an easterly flow heating things up for our mountains and deserts, and actually elevating fire danger in that part of the county. In the area where we do have that fire, the fire danger is not as high as it is in areas like Warner Springs or even over towards our deserts. The relative humidity is low in the extreme eastern part of the county. The rest of the county, we still have that onshore flow in the marine layer that's helping to lead to higher humidity levels, but it's also bringing clouds near the coast. And that's something that we're going to see the rest of the week. So May gray in full force, winds coming out of the west, southwest in San Diego. Our headlines: May gray will continue at night and into the morning. Cooler conditions into the weekend with possible light rain. That's really good news for the county. It has been so dry. And for mountains and deserts, warm, dry weather will continue through the end of the week. It'll be a cloudy start to the day tomorrow. The winds are already shifting in our mountains. So for Thursday, it's going to be a westerly wind, but it will get stronger. Temperatures at the coast will average close to 70. Inland communities near 80 degrees. By Sunday, much cooler with 69 degrees. Our mountains will stay above average with temperatures near 80 degrees tomorrow, and an average 78 to 78 degrees on Friday before a cooler air mass moves in. It will be brief. Temperatures will bounce back next week in the deserts, going from 85 on Sunday to 90s next week. But for tomorrow, triple digits. Back to you.
Thank you, Angelica. We are continuing to watch the fire as well. It's in the Lakeview area. It's in Lakeside. It would be north of the 8 and south of the 67. If you drew a line between those, it's smack dab in the middle. You see that right off of the 8 right there. We are getting some evacuation centers coming in. They are located at Lotus Lane and Carob Tree Lane. So they are now evacuating those areas right there. If you're on Lotus Lane or Carob Tree Lane, they are saying that you should go ahead and evacuate as they fight this fire. Now about 4 acres. We haven't had a late update in the last few minutes on that, but the last report was 4 acres. Vegetation fire in Lakeside. We'll continue to watch that. We'll be right back with more of ABC 10 News at 4.
Skycam Views, sponsored by Carlsbad Solar.